Have you ever felt like there are certain struggles inside you that just never seem to go away, no matter what you do? Well, the great Kashmiri Sufi poet Samad Mir had a lot to say about that. He believed some conflicts are fundamental to our very being. So today, we're going to journey into his incredible work to understand these unresolved contentions of the human soul. This one line is the heart of the entire poem. It just repeats and repeats, and it's this haunting, almost fatalistic statement about our inner battles. I mean, what does it even mean for a conflict to be truly unresolvable? Let's dive in and really unpack that.
So this recurring line, it's the key that unlocks the whole thing. Samad Mir isn't just talking about everyday disagreements or simple problems. No, he's getting at the deepest, most fundamental struggles we face within ourselves. And he suggests that maybe, just maybe, these conflicts aren't meant to be won, but to be understood.
As the poem lays it out, these deep conflicts really fall into two main buckets. First, you have things that are just incompatible by their very nature, like oil and water. They just don't mix. Then you have the conflicts that come from our own misguided efforts, like trying to catch the wind in a net. Okay, let's explore that first type of conflict, the kind that comes from the basic, unchangeable nature of things. The poem kicks off with this really powerful image, a wild varnish tree, which is naturally coarse and abrasive, trying to contend with a noble sandalwood tree. The point is so clear, right? Something that is inherently coarse just can't resolve its conflict with something that is inherently refined. It's a fight that's baked right into its very essence. And then we get this contrast between the dignified lion and the scheming jackal. But here's the twist. The poem isn't really about the lion fighting the jackal. The real conflict is the one inside the jackal. Its own deceitful nature is this unresolved struggle that it has to carry with it everywhere it goes. This brings us to a really fascinating question the poet asks, and he uses another powerful metaphor to get us thinking about it. Picture this, a grapevine that's just naturally crooked, twisted from the root all the way to the tip. The poem says you could bring in 1,000,000 carpenters, but they could never make it straight, because its crookedness is just part of what it is. And that's a metaphor for the soul. You can't just fix a deep internal misalignment with external force. Real change has to come from somewhere deeper. So if some conflicts are about our inherent nature, what about the other kind? This brings us to that second category, the struggles that pop up when our efforts are just completely and utterly misplaced, or when we just fail to see the real value in something that's right in front of us. This stanza just nails it. It talks about someone who treats precious pearls like they're just simple, cheap beads for a game. By completely failing to see their true worth, their inner spiritual conflict can never, ever be resolved. They don't even realize what they're throwing away. And then the poet just unleashes this incredible list of metaphors for this kind of useless effort. I mean, just imagine, trying to churn water and expecting to get butter, or putting molasses on a wound that means honey, or a cobbler who's so used to the smell of tanned leather, literally sneezing in disgust at the scent of precious musk. Each image just shows the absurdity of putting the wrong effort into the wrong thing. So what do all these examples point to? Well, it's this idea of a counterfeit spirituality. It's about going through the motions on the outside, but without any of the genuine substance or readiness on the inside. It's like performing a ritual without being ready to actually receive anything from it. And that, right there, is a conflict that can never be fixed with empty action. Okay, so if all that effort is just futile, what's the alternative? What is the right path? Well, the poem gives us this brilliant contrast between that pointless struggle and the real pursuit of something genuine and deep. The poem contrasts a shallow, babbling brook with a deep ocean. The brook, it sparkles beautifully on the surface, but it's ultimately empty. The ocean, on the other hand, in its quiet, vast depths, actually produces real pearls. This is the difference between a soul that's all about surface-level show and one that has true, deep spiritual substance. Now, to explain this right path, the poem introduces a specific Sufi concept called khandapura. Now, don't get hung up on the word. You can think of it as a person's spiritual center of gravity. It's a point of focused inner practice where true transformation can actually begin. And this is the alternative to all that futile effort we talked about.
The poem says that the person who is steadfast in their inner practice, the one who is focused in their khandapura, they are the ones who find that spiritual treasure, the pearl necklace. Meanwhile, the aimless wanderer can travel the entire world, from Lahore to London, and still end up completely empty-handed.
This whole journey through the poem brings us to the final, and I think, the most profound conflict that Samadmir presents to us. Here, the poem's tone shifts. It feels like it's speaking directly to us, reminding us, hey, you hold your own command. You actually possess self-mastery. It's only the stranger, the person who is foreign to this inner path, who doubts this power and thinks we're all just helpless. And this is where it all comes together. The ultimate unresolved conflict isn't about varnished trees or jackals. At the end of the day, it belongs to the person who cannot tell the difference between the stranger within, all that stuff that is foreign, superficial, and counterfeit, and their own true enlightened self. That is the core struggle of it all. And so the poem turns the mirror back on us. We're not left with a neat answer, but with the most important question of all, a question for us to carry into our own inner lives. Thanks for exploring this with me today.